Hey, I thought I'd just do a short video on kind of working from home. So what with this Covid-19 kind of situation we find ourselves in globally, more and more people are working from home, having to lead teams from home. So I thought I'd just share a couple of my kind of tips and thoughts on the whole thing, seeing as I've been working from home pretty much full time for around 17 years. Okay, so before I go into kind of my kind of tips and hints, the main thing for me to say is obviously this is all based on my own experiences, my own opinions, and my own work ethic. So if those things don't gel with kind of your thought process on the world, then that is fine. Again, just trying to help people a little bit. Some of these things may seem obvious, but I know lots of people are struggling. So first of all, I think that there's a lot of stigma potentially attached to people when it comes from working from home. People say that they're working from home and really they're not. But I think especially in a time like this, it is important for people to be, as much as possible, being able to work. I will caveat this with, obviously this time is also a bit unprecedented. So even myself, who is a kind of full-time working from home person, I have kids around the house, which obviously isn't normal. So there are some disruptions to this, but we need to make the best of the situation we have. And in general, these tips that I'm going to share with you apply regardless whether you have other people at home with you or not, or you are a full-time home worker. And also I think it is important as much as possible for things to try and continue as business as usual, because we all need an income, people need services provided to them, and so as much as we can work and provide those services and maintain job security for ourselves, our families and our companies, then really I think that's a good thing to do and helps us kind of focus and keep oriented in not panicking and kind of stressing out about kind of the uncertainty that we have in the world. Again, this is just my opinion, so if you don't agree, that is fine. We're all entitled to our opinion. Just sharing mine ahead of kind of these tips. Okay, so the first thing is having a dedicated workspace. Now, that's going to mean different things for different people. I'm very fortunate, again, working from home for so long, I have a dedicated building and office, and I appreciate a very small amount of people who have that. So really what this is about is finding and dedicating a space for work. So obviously, if you work from home permanently, and this isn't just related to the virus situation, ideally you'd have a spare bedroom or something you can use, or an area under the stairs, but basically take something to be your own. Maybe it's a corner of the living room or the dining room table or something that you can set up, and when you're in that area, have that as your kind of workspace, so that when you're finished or when you're taking a break, you leave that kind of space, and so you're kind of mentally disassociating kind of your normal non-working life with your working life environment. By doing that, will help you feel more focused and kind of dedicated to what you're doing, but most importantly, when it comes to finishing the day, being able to get some form of separation from what it is that you're doing for work and what you're doing for your out of work life. The second thing is routine. So it took me a little while to kind of learn this over the years, but you definitely want to have some routine. So just because you're working from home, try not to just sleep in later and avoid showering and getting dressed and doing that kind of thing. Try and keep with either the routines that you had already when you had a job that you had to commute to, or if you're starting to work from home for the first time, look to establish routine. So get up, have your breakfast, get showered, do all those things, get dressed, get changed into either clothing that you feel is your work clothing. I know some people still like to wear trousers and a shirt because that makes them feel like they're in work mode. But basically, the main thing is, to not just kind of sit around in your PJs and your dressing gown all day, because that will, again, create some disassociation issues later on in the day when you're trying to kind of switch between work and non-working mode. So get some routines, stick to it, and try and, again, create more things that your brain can latch onto in terms of this is normality, this is work, this is not work. Okay, the third thing is about being present in the moment and kind of, again, structured in your day. So one of the things you'll probably notice when working from home is you may feel a bit more kind of separated, or feel that you have to be sat at your desk all the time. So there's a balance there. You need to be kind of in your desk or in the workspace, so that your colleagues and customers can get hold of you. But you'll also probably find that you're hopefully less distracted. So you will be getting less phone calls and less emails and things, and just idle chit chat and stuff happening. So you can probably be more effective during your workday. But make sure you take time to have breaks, get up and stretch your legs. And obviously right now with the virus, it's difficult to kind of go do something else. At lunchtime you can't pop to the supermarket and get a sandwich or something. But perhaps just have a sit outside in your garden. For during your break, perhaps you wash your car, you mow the lawn, do something. In that day to kind of split up and give yourself a break, and take your mind off work before going back back to it, so you can be effective. But the answer isn't, at least in my opinion, you don't work from the garden. You need to be in a professional environment where you can be focused and not distracted and deal with the things that you're working on. Okay, the next thing is about switching off. So one of the best things about working from home is the fact that you have the ability to respond to things and deal with things and get a lot done with little distractions. But that can also be the worst thing. So when you're working from home, you're always at work and you're always at home. So there can be that tendency to not draw a line when you normally finish work. So it's important to try and do that. So if you normally finish work at 5 or 5:30, try and finish work at 5 or 5:30. Only if you're confident in yourself. Obviously, you've spent that proper working day in those hours, so you can kind of shut up and finish off. Any emails and stuff that come in, they'll still be there in the morning, like they would be if you were commuting to the office. So utilise that time and kind of switch off at the end of the day and do something else. The next thing is to think about what you're working on and who can see it. So when you're in your dedicated working space, and perhaps you've got family around, be conscious of what it is you're working on and whether someone can see it or not. And also when you finish working, securing your computer or whatever, so a member of your family doesn't stumble across customer information or something like that. So just use common sense and take care and responsibility for the information that you have access to in your workspace, whether that be digital on your computer, or perhaps it's things that you've printed out and you're storing somewhere, and you're just leaving it scattered across the desk. And then the last thing that may actually be the most important thing is make sure you keep in touch with people. So keep in touch with your colleagues and co-workers. Working from home, if you're not used to it, can be very isolating and can be lonely, and that can obviously lead to different stresses and depression and whatnot. So make sure that you utilise technology to speak to your other remote work colleagues during the day. So perhaps that's text messaging or video or just voice, but make time each day to interact with other people virtually. Just because you're not physically sat with them doesn't mean that you can't continue to build effective working relationships and friendly relationships with people. In fact, I've had better relationships with people working remotely and interacting with them over video and voice than I have with people sat in an office. So it can work, but you have to put the effort in. If you just sit there in silence and ignore people, you'll probably also get ignored as well, and that won't help your well-being in general. So that's it. Just a couple of thoughts again. Maybe they're obvious to you, but I thought I would just kind of share a little bit, because I know lots of people are struggling with working from home. Working from home definitely isn't for everybody, and some people are going to be gagging to get back in the office just because the idea of working from home seems great to some people once they try it, and obviously lots of people will be forced to try it right now. They may find that they struggle, but this is what helps me. I don't do a great job of all these things. Sometimes I'm probably working more and not having the greatest work-life balance, but doesn't mean I can't give some advice and tips on my years of experience. So, like I said, stay focused, concentrate on what you're doing, take care of yourself, balance your work time with your personal time, and try not to be easily distracted by watching TV or some movie, or just going for a wander around when normally if you were at work you'd be doing something slightly different. But get distracted at the right times and take care of yourself and do the best we can to obviously be impactful, be valuable with what we're doing whilst we're working from home, and ensuring that we all have jobs and an economy to keep going with once this madness is over, because there'll be some other madness in the future. We need to take care of ourselves and our families. So stay safe. Please leave comments below of any kind of tips and feedback on what helps you work effectively from home. Different things for different people, so it's good to share your opinions. Also, let me know if you're working from home and you've realising it isn't really for you. It's not as easy as what you thought it was. Back to what I said at the beginning, there are stereotypes that people that work from home are just watching Jeremy Kyle all day and not actually doing any work. And I'm sure there are people like that, but they're not going to be people that are effective and contributing and having good impact to what they're doing. Thanks for watching this video. A thumbs up would be really appreciated. If you're interested in other geek type videos, please consider subscribing to Spectrum Geeks. Why not also follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And before you leave, why don't you check out one of these other videos that may be of interest. Thanks again for watching.